Hello! Okay, so if you saw my closet clean out video, you will know that I have massively upgraded in terms of storage and built-in wardrobes. However, there is one set of wardrobes, or cupboards rather, that are completely open. So you see everything that's in there. It looks messy, it feels messy, dust gets in there, and yeah, I just really want to close it off and make it look a bit neater. To do that, I have decided to attempt to make curtains for these three little open sections of cupboard. If you want to see if I can make my open cupboards closed cupboards, then stick around. Okay, so this is what we're working with. Here are the open cupboards in question. What I'm going to do for each is buy a tension rod, so it's no screwing and also no drilling, which I'll hang across the top of each of the three. I'm going to make 3 sets of curtains, so 1 for each, and then also add some eyelets so they can slide and create a nice S-fold. Just to give you a quick example of S-fold curtains, these are S-fold curtains and they're what I hung up on the top and the bottom of my front windows in my apartment. To create my S-fold curtains, I am just going to double the width of each of the 3 of my curtains.
Hold your breath, all the moves we're making. Scared to death, and the ground is shaking. Oh boy, you got me really good. This time, it's up to you. Treat me like you should. The music's something you
I picked up these 3 mini spring fit tension rods from the hardware store. I also picked up 3 meters of this blockout curtain material. The material didn't need to be blockout. This just seemed to be the best color fit for the open cupboards. And I also picked up some thread to match. I also ordered this 14mm eyelet kit off of Amazon. The opposite ends first, so whatever's parallel. I've got the top end, and now I'll be doing the hem on the bottom end, and then I'll move to the other couple of sides. So again, I am just taking off about 4 centimeters of that lower layer of hem that I rolled over to take out some weight. I'm also just putting the pins on the other side and in the position roughly that I want to sew. I'm just stitching a second row about 5mm or maybe 3mm next to the one I just did. Okay, now I'm folding over my last side of the rectangle. I'm actually only taking 2 centimeters of weight off on these corners. So for the last 2 sides, whereas the first 2 sides I did 4, that was just because I hadn't done the seam allowance, so the like double flip. But with this one, there's only 2 centimeters where it's pretty weighty. So I'll just take off 2, maybe slightly more. Again, I don't think this is necessarily like textbook curtains, but I think this is just an easy way to do them. For this last row, or the last 2 sides, I'm just starting my stitching about 5 mil down, so to line up with that other stitching and make sort of a corner. And here's one curtain all sewn up. I'll do the same thing for my other 2, and then I will add in my little eyelets. All right, so what I didn't do on my first little curtain that I should have done is measured in how far the seam allowance would be, and then an extra 5 mil for where I want to start the stitching, so I can form a nice little corner at each of the 4 corners of the curtain. So 4 centimeters is my seam allowance, and then I've just got an extra 5 mil on there for where I will start my stitching. All right, 3rd time is a charm. I finally nailed that corner join. All right, and all 3 are done. Now it's time to add the eyelets. Okay, I'm just checking that my 14mm eyelets fit the 13mm end, just to double check before I put these into my curtains, and then imagine if they don't roll on. All right, let's see. Okay. Okay, I just realized that the rubber ends come off, thankfully. So now let's check if the 14mm little eyelet fits on the 13mm rod. Yes. So for the placement of my eyelets along the width of my curtains and that top section of each curtain, I have started 3.5 centimeters in from the left, and then the same on the right side as well. And then I've placed each of my pins 10 centimeters apart. That seems to be the general rule from what I can gather from doing a bit of research for curtain hooks and hanging. And I think these are roughly the same as the ones I've got on my front windows. So I've got 3.5 centimeters in, 10 centimeters, 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 3.5 centimeters. I'm leaving the littlest bit of a gap on each of the ends because of that rubber stopper on the end of each of the tension rods. So that would mean that this should hopefully go to the edge of each of the cupboards and slip behind that rubber piece, rather than there just being a gap of like 1.5 centimeters, 2 centimeters on the left and right side of each of the open cupboards. I've also made sure that there are an even number of eyelets that are going in. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 going in, because they each form their own little like curve like that. So you sort of need an even number to hopefully make it look nice. And I'm just repeating the same pinning process on each of my curtains before I get started, just in case I've made any little errors and some need to be spaced slightly differently. Each of my 3 curtains are all pinned up and prepped for the eyelets. Now it is time to add them in. So to add in my eyelets, I'm firstly grabbing the little open-ended tool that came with the eyelets in my toolkit. I do think it's always really good to buy your eyelets with a toolkit if they're a new size or if you don't have any. And so I'm just going to hole punch my holes in each of the spots where I've placed my pins. So I'm making sure each middle section or middle point of the eyelet is 3 centimeters down from the top, and then just bang in the middle of that pin. and I'm using my little shoemaking mallet hammer to bang this in. You could just use a regular hammer, I suppose. Okay, even if this just makes a mark, that's fine. I can just cut each bit out. Now that that's just made a little mark, I'm just gonna use my scissors and cut it out. Alright, I am back with the correct scissors. Doesn't have to be like a perfect cut, but just so there's enough space for the eyelet to go in. Alright, so after I've gone and put all my holes in, I put the front piece of the eyelet on the front of the fabric. Just double check. It's all looking good on the front. And then I slip over my washer. So I'm putting my washer shiny side up. Don't know if that's necessarily correct, but that is what I'm doing. I get my little tool that also came in the packet and slip it underneath so that that front piece is sitting in the ridge. Get my little stopper or whatever this is, put it on top, use my hammer, and then I flip it over and it's all done. Alright, and that is all of my 8 eyelets put into my first curtain. Time to hang it on the tension rod, hang that up and see if I got this first one right. If I did, I will then move on to my other 2. Back, forward, back, forward, back, forward. Alright, let me test it on this middle one here. So I think I need to twist them in the opposite direction. That's what the instructions say. Ooh. Okay, it's not, doesn't seem to be a lot of tension yet. Twist them in opposite directions. Ooh. Alright, this is the first test. What do we reckon? I actually think this is completely perfect. Like for a simple curtain, it's kind of just about touching the bottom down there, but I have the slightest amount of space up the top where I could kind of slide it up a little bit. So with the tension rod, yeah, I just twisted it in opposite directions. It didn't like jolt out dramatically straight away. It was just very slow. And yeah, so I'm hoping it's pretty sturdy, but these are pretty light curtains anyway.
Over meadows, insides from grass, lungs breathing in the darkness. Yeah.
Cupboards all complete. They've gone from open to closed. I think they look a lot neater. I'm also happy with the color match of the material, but would love to hear how you think I went. And as per usual, I'll see you in the next video.